welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra, and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing action on the day street. Well, so far as the benchmarks are concerned, both the Sensex and the Nifty are just a minor in the green. You can actually see just minor gains coming through. That's largely led by the banking and financial names that have pulled the Nifty from the low point of the day. But it's the broader markets that are really bleeding and pain at this point in time. The mid caps down by 1.2%. There's a sharper fall in the small caps as well. Sectorally, also the action is divided at this point in time, but the market breadth is towards the selling side at this point in time as well. When we look at the kind of pockets that are in focus, remember right in the morning we got this news that Ultratech Cement, the biggest cement player that we know, is entering the cables and the wires division, and that has really caused a lot of stir amidst the already existing players within the cables and the wire segment, the likes of Polycab, Havells, KEI Industries, RR Kabel, and many others such, which are already feeling the heat of a big competitor entering into the field with deep pockets. Now, we have been discussing with various experts as to how should you be really looking at this, and we'll be also speaking again in case you missed out on the morning conversations. The other big important point is that RBI's relaxed rules as far as the micro loans are concerned have somehow benefited the banks and the NBFCs, and therefore these pockets are showing us some strength. Remember, it's the F&O expiry session. So far, so good. Not too much of a volatility at this point in time. But let's get an understanding from our top guest as to how is he really looking at the setup. Brijesh Ale, who is the head of technicals and derivatives at retail research at IDFBI Capital Markets and Securities, is now with us. Brijesh, welcome. Good to have you with us. This is the fifth series in a row when we are expecting the markets to actually end with losses, and that would mark a 28-year record-breaking history, for the Nifty as well. First up, tell us, how are you expecting the expiry to take place? Is it as per your own expectations? And what's the outlook from here on?
No, hi Sakshi, good afternoon. So I think we are down with the 5 months of correction, and today being the monthly expiry. If you look at the Bank Nifty data, there is some strength which is coming in, and Bank Nifty has now respected 48,500 level, where the put writers were extremely aggressive. And if I look at the current data, the Bank Nifty is suggesting the long build up. So somewhere there is a strength in the Bank Nifty. Having said this, the 49,000 is also the level where the call writers are active. So maybe this very small range, 48,500 and 49,000, this is an immediate range. I believe we'll be seeing some pullback rally. 49,000 is the immediate resistance. And once we take out of those points, I think Bank Nifty will see some bounce. And this bounce may come close to 50,000 level. So we'll keep a watch on it. But more or less, the view is positive, and I think that 49,000 can be taken on. And we speak about the same level for the Nifty. 22,800 is the trigger. So eventually, at the start of the day, when I was looking at the data, there was the shorts didn't get rolled over for the March series. So I just need to review it by the end of the day. But in the morning, it was suggested that the 28,000, 22,800 call writers were unwinding the short position. So somewhere the market is suggesting that maybe like if Nifty crosses 22,800, then whatever the bottom which we are seeing maybe today, yeah, maybe by tomorrow, whatever the low, if we make any. So that will remain as a short-term bottom for time being. So trigger is 22,800 for the Nifty and 49,000 for the Bank Nifty. Above those levels, I believe there will be some bounce in some relief rally will be there. One needs to understand how it will sustain and all that. I'm convinced one of the main reasons is because of the India VIX. If you look at the India VIX is now settling at 13.22, which is quite extremely good. Tomorrow, I think the GDP numbers are going to come. So before the event, if the VIX is not showing the volatility, that means it's a good sign.
Okay, fair point. Brijesh, I want you to expand a little bit of the point that you are marking when it comes to the relief rally or the recovery starting. We want to understand, where exactly can one really hope the bottom out to really take place as far as the Nifty and the Nifty Bank is concerned. And of course, when we talk about the broader markets that are continuing to be in sharper pain as well, what is your expectation on both the large caps as well as the broader markets? When is this cycle going to turn for the better?
So maybe I think the pain is still there in that mid-cap and small cap space. The pain would definitely be there. If we understand the Nifty, I was talking of the pullback rally. So 22,800. Once we sustain about those levels,
Yeah.
eventually the breakdown came from the level of 23,500. So somewhere close to those points, that should be the pullback rally for the Nifty. And same levels we speak about the Bank Nifty, it should be back to 50,000 level. So it's a very small range. It's not too convincing as of now. But then
Yeah.
somewhere we can say that whatever the lows which we saw in the month of Feb may be held.
Hmm. You know, since you say that the mid and the small caps will continue probably to see some more pain, are there any sectors that are more vulnerable to seeing some more correction from here?
Uh, it's too early, but I believe IT is something which is not spanning very clean. So the structure from the weekly and monthly time frame is extremely bearish. So I think if one sector, if I need to take a negative view, at least for the next 10 to 15 days, so IT would be one space where I would not be taking any long bets, and I would be waiting for the sector to form a base, or maybe like whatever the corrections it may we may see. So only
Hmm.
after that I take a view. So IT index is something which I think will not be very good.
Okay, so IT is on the negative side. Is there one standout sector where you are increasingly, incrementally turning positive also, Brijesh?
Yeah, I do. Maybe like after today's data, I think the like financial service that space is going to be see some very strong positive momentum followed by the NBFCs. So I think Bank Nifty followed by the private banks is looking strong. Maybe the Bank Nifty never broke the way the Nifty has broken. So I
Hmm.
believe there would be some positive strength in the financial services.
Okay, so banks and financial services look to be positive. Let's actually dig a little deeper to help our viewers understand which are the key stocks that they could look at. First, you took the name of financials or NBFCs. Today, we've seen the leader of the pack hit all-time highs, Bajaj Finance, even in the weak setup in the market. How are you looking at, of course, Bajaj Twins and the rest of the pack there? What are your top favorites from the financials?
So I think Bajaj Finserv is something which is extremely positive. It has given a very strong breakout. So from the
Okay.
level of 1930, I can easily see it going back to 2000, plus level. The stop loss will
Hmm.
be very small, like 1860, 1870 would be the base from where it has started to move. So that definitely the Bajaj Finserv is one where the move is there. To some extent, Bajaj Finance is something which is also I am extremely liking. It has given a very clear range breakout at this level. Maybe somewhere close to 9,000 mark, I think Bajaj Finance should see a good rally. And lastly, if you look at the Chola Finance, it has done an extremely strong breakout, not only in the weekly, also in the monthly time frame. So somewhere close to 1500, that is what I'm looking for the Chola Finance. So this NBFC space will remain to act as a very strong.
Okay, so that's as far as the NBFC names are concerned. If I have to ask you on private banks, that's another space that you're positive on. Any top two or three stocks that you are bullish currently?
Uh, Maybe IndusInd Bank is something which we are quite showing some good strength, and we are advocating that to the clients. So IndusInd Bank is something which is given a. And if you look at the Axis Bank also, after giving a good decline, the Axis Bank is showing some strength. So maybe from the level of 1,000, we can talk of 1100, 1150. So there is opportunity in the Axis Bank. And one bank which is not only private but then SBI. If you look at
Okay.
SBI is now trading close to 700 level. The reason why I'm taking SBI is because the 750 strike price and even to
Yeah.
some extent 800 strike price, the call writers have exited their short positions. So that's subject to what we see in the bow copy at the end of the day is the second story. But normally during the day there was some data which is suggesting that they are not uh, taking the short positions for the for the March series. So this is something which tells me that okay, the bank or maybe bank Nifty individual stocks may see some positive momentum.
Hmm. Okay. Fair point. So that's as far as the banks and the financials are concerned, where you could actually look at some stock spotting and look at some opportunities right now. But let's actually come to the theme that we've been discussing right from morning. Ultratech Cement entering cables and wires, and a surprise move that's led to a sharp fall across the board on the cables and wires segment. I mean, stocks like Havells, Polycab, KEI, and even RR Kabel, many of them also saw 21% kind of a cut in today's trading session, just by that trigger of a heavyweight entering the same space. I'm sure, Brijesh, you would be getting many calls from your clients as to what should they be doing, because these used to be the erstwhile favorites from the cables and the wires segment. Now, how are you advising them to look at it? Even in our daily calls shows, a lot of people who had their positions were worried about whether this is an opportunity for them to average out stocks in the cables and wires, or is there going to be serious trouble for these players, because a massive player of cement, the largest company that we know of cement, is now entering, and probably there could be some disruption. How are you reading into it?
So I think whatever the corrections we saw today was the first day of the correction. Eventually the stock was correcting, but after the news, the stock started to correct more. So the damage which we are looking is not to be getting pulled up so early. So I believe this momentum will be there for next couple of days. We need to figure out how the weekly and the monthly charts pan out. But then the structure of most of these charts are not very promising. For example, the Polycab is somewhere the downside may come close to 4200, 4300. So the damage can still be there. So somebody want to already stuck, want to do some bottom fishing or maybe want to average. So I don't think this is the right time. I mean, I think one has to wait, let this entire thing get cool off. It will take a couple of days. Then we may start thinking whether somebody should actually get into the trade or maybe like one need to just keep a hold position on it.
Fair point. I hope this has also helped a lot of people get some clarity as to how should you be looking at these spaces. Let's do some stock spotting. We are about 20 minutes away from the day's close. In the broadest index, of course, you have some of the financial play. Credit Axis Grameen is up for 12%. It was higher the morning. Just Dial is up 8%. AU Small Finance Bank, Sriram Finance, Chola Finance, that's something that British also pointed out. All of them are up and about. You also have some fertilizer names like Fact, that's up by 5%. Then you have PTC India, that's up by about 5.5%. You have Bharti Hexacom, M&M Finance, a lot of these interesting names that are up and about in trade as far as the Nifty 500 names are concerned. But on the lower end, where the weakness still persists, you will find stocks like KEI now at a 20.1% downtick, RR Kabel 19.8% downtick, Polycap 18.5% downtick. So three of the largest players in the Nifty 500 basket are from the cables and the wires businesses that we were just discussing. You have GNFC, Apar Industries, KEC, PVR Inox also down by about 6.5%. Some of the other stocks like JBM Auto, which is into the EV space, or Inox Wind from the solar space. These are all the stocks that are declining by about 6.5%. The broader markets are actually feeling a lot of heat. Let's discuss with Brijesh as to how should one look at the mid and the small cap stocks. Would you be interested in buying the dips at this point in time on any of the sectors or specific stocks in the mid and the small caps? Are you doing that with every fall that's happening? Or are you largely focusing only on the safe havens that are being seen as of now, the large cap space that we just discussed, Brijesh?
See, there are few selected stocks in the mid and small cap, which the structure from the monthly point of view is like tomorrow being a monthly, so the structures are extremely positive. For example, you spoke about the Just Dial.
Yeah.
If I Just Dial was one stock which was correcting a lot from the last couple of months, and this month it
Correct.
has seen a very strong recovery. So from a month-on-month basis, I think the bottom, temporary bottom on the Just Dial is done, and we can easily see just that going back to 1150 to 1200 level. So it looks quite promising. So it's one chart which I would be recommending somebody having a position should look to do the averaging kind of a trade in the just that. Purely from the monthly point of view, and the March series can be quite good for the specifically for the just that. If I specifically need to tell, then it's a kind of a hammer kind of a formation in the monthly time frame. So it's very strong
Correct.
positive. Manappuram is something which has had very strong pretty. Eventually, during the results, it went below 180. It came close to 180, but the recovery was so sharp that it's back to the 200, 210 level. And this momentum easily says me that we can bet for another 25-30 points in the Manappuram. So Manappuram can also be one of the bets. And most interestingly, you spoke of the fact there is one stock, Chambal Fertilizer. If you just look at the
Yeah.
time frame on the multi-month time frame, it is giving a very strong, new, fresh kind of a breakout. So this is one stock that irrespective when the market was correcting, every time when there was a correction, every dip was kind of an opportunity for the Chambal. And in the long run, maybe from 4 to 5 months kind of a time frame, I'm pretty confident that this can be one of the outperformers. From the current level of this 574, we can easily see 700, 750 over the next couple of months. So this is
Mhm.
one stock. I would like to add one more stock which is very strong, like Narayana Hrudayalaya from the mid cap and small cap space. This stock has
Okay.
moved such a high from the current level. I think this can also go back to 1650, 1700.
Absolutely. Okay, so I hope viewers who are still looking at opportunities in the mid and small caps, some of the names you've been able to catch that Brijesh is really positive on, and where he feels there is an interesting turn of events that's helping the stocks move higher, and therefore one should definitely look at it as well. But Brijesh, I also wanted to ask you within the broader markets where there is continuous sell-off, the PSU names, how are you looking at them? I mean, like, be it the railway space, be it the defense space, be it, the PSUs otherwise within, the heavy engineering or the usual names that we discuss, power names for that instance. How are you looking at the current scenario in these PSU stocks particularly? Do you see further pain continuing?
Yeah, somehow that conviction is not too very high on this space. Maybe some support relief rally can be there, but that cannot be an opportunity to take the fresh long bets. Specifically, IRCTC is something which we are keeping a watch on. It's almost corrected quite a bit. So some opportunities can be there in the IRCTC. We are not very strongly recommending, but then from the risk reward ratio point of view, this is quite promising. 650 is a very strong multi-months kind of a demand zone. So, and it's broken the 700. So somebody who's already having a position can keep a watch on IRCTC because this is the area from where the downside is very limited. So 650 would be the very strong base. With that reference, somebody wants to take the long bet. IRCTC is one. And one more stock which we were having in our Diwali pick as well was the Jupiter Wagon, JWL. So this stock is also corrected a bit, and now we believe it is almost at near the bottom zone. So somebody wants to take a long bet in the Jupiter bracket is also advisable because the downside from the current level could be another 30-40 points odd, which from the long-term perspective looks quite promising. So these are only very specific. Defense we are not touching. Somehow we are not convinced that defense space can see some good move. Like defense, we would like to wait for more like 1 or 2 quarters then take a view, but we are not adding any fresh trades in the defense.
Okay, fair point. Let's talk about the new series then. Brijesh, where do you find most of the rollovers taking place in the March series? Any key stocks that you're finding within the FNO space?
Uh, Eventually, what I said in the at the early, I spoke about the banking,
Yeah.
SBI, to some extent SBI Life also. So SBI Life also, if you look at the
Yeah.
1500 strike price, the calls are getting unwinded. Maybe today because of the expiry, but if we see the same positioning in the next initially in the first 1 or 2 trading session, then I'm confident that some very strong positive momentum can be seen in the SBI Life as well. SBI is something which is doing a very strong bet. Ashok Leyland is something which is forming a very strong base, even from the derivatives point of view. SBI, I'm quite positive. SBI, if it will be too much to talk, but then somewhere I believe SBI can move back to another 100 points. Maybe not in this series, it will take a 1 or 2 series, but 100 points kind of a move can be seen in SBI as well. M&M Finance, the structure is very strong. At 300, the call writers are exiting their position. So that is also is something which is in our radar.
Okay, fair point. I hope that all of you have really taken all of this down as well. Let's actually look at some of the other pockets that we can, interestingly. Let's look at the Nifty next 50 list. That will be an important one to look at. Some of the stocks that are buzzing. Zomato is up today, 1.5% at 228 to 29 odd levels. You have Naukri.com that's also buzzing in trade. Then you have Indigo that's also buzzing today. Some of these stocks that are interestingly, new age, internet-based stocks that are also buzzing in trade. On Zomato and versus Swiggy, particularly, Brijesh, how have you assessed the last few days of volatility? What has really changed your outlook there? Has there been anything?
Zomato, we are understanding there can be some bounce, but whether to take the very strong directional break, it's still a questionable because the levels of this 200 to 10 is very quite strong demand zone. So definitely there is some bounce will be there because the sell-off came from the level of 280. So from the current level of 280, we can speak of another 50 points kind of a rally. But whether it will sustain about 280 is it's quite it's too early to comment. But then yes, definitely since it is almost in the support zone we can speak of 40, 50 points kind of a move in the Zomato. So from that point of view, yeah, Zomato is looking good.
Zomato is looking good from that point of view. Okay, got that. Let's also discuss. Okay, so let's also discuss some weak pockets. Today, a lot of real estate spaces have also slipped a bit. Anything that you have looked at why the pain suddenly emerging. In fact, real estate has also been very vulnerable in the recent fall. This is the space that's been correcting. Last 3 4 years or so, the real estate pack has been one of the winning zones, and investors have actually been betting big on realty, especially on the back of demand for luxury properties, residential properties as well. How are you looking at the current state on the real estate pack? I mean, today I think Godrej Properties, Lodha, all of them are actually feeling the heat today. What are you doing with them?
So this space, from the long-term perspective, we are positive. Like Lodha, Godrej, properties and DLF are the stocks. These are the stocks eventually over the last few months before this sector was booming, and whenever there was a decline, that kind of opportunity was there. Now, purely from the
Mm,
derivative point of view, only Lodha is one stock which, from the expiry point of view, has added the long bets for the next series. So, and if I just check for the DLF, Godrej Property, Oberoi, Finolex, their Prestige, it's still
mm,
doing a build-up kind of structure, at least from the series point of view. But the only one stock which is promising as of now from the data point of view is Lodha, which can see some good push for the next series also. Maybe 1250, 1280 is what someone can look for. But maybe it will take a little bit more time. But that's the only one stock which is promising as of now in reality space.
mm. Okay, fair point. We were talking about this new age internet space, and Zomato is something that we discussed with Rajesh. There is this another one that's showing us some bounce today. CE Info Systems. There's been a sharp surge on this one, 4% higher. Now, for this stock, it's at the day's high as well, along with Zomato, which is also at a day's high. CE Info Systems, have you been tracking at all, Brijesh? Would you be able to tell us what would this move really mean? Will this carry on?
Okay, C info system,
This is
just let me
Map My India. Basically, it's listed by the name of
yeah,
CE Info Systems as Map My India. Yeah.
so since actually we are not tracking this very specifically,
Okay.
but strategically I can just help you out.
Sure.
Uh, so maybe at the 1765 level. Okay, fine. So it looks pretty good from the weekly time frame. This week
Hmm.
it has given a very strong upside bias, maybe 5% kind of a plus returns. So it is forming a sideways consolidation, and some breakouts are at the verge. So we can talk of the pullback rally from the technical point of view. 1950, 1960 is what I can see, and that can be a short-term trading guide. So it looks positive on charts.
Looks positive on the charts right now. Okay, so that's as far as CE Info Systems also goes at this point in time. Anything else that has caught your attention, which I've missed asking you, British, in terms of key stock moves that we should be tracking?
See, NBFC, we are anyways going to try because I think that is what it is going to stay for next year. From
Yeah.
after this, something which is in the focus is the SRF. If you look at the charts of SRF, this is constantly seeing some buying interest, and from the current level of this 2850, close to 3000, 3050, kind of a rally can be seen in the SRF. So that is one which is very strong on charts. Next, Voltas has seen a very strong base formation at the current level. From the 1300 point, I think Voltas can see another 100, 150 points kind of a move. Maybe in the next, in a period of entire 1 month for the March series, this Volta should be one which one has to keep a watch on.
Voltas can be something that one can keep an eye out on, and why not so? In the summers are already knocking on the doors as far as North India is concerned, and there could be an increased focus on the summer-related stocks. Voltas, a major player in the air conditioning space, will be something that will be seeing heightened demand with the early onset of summers this time around, and we might actually see a longer summer, and therefore you could actually focus on Voltas too. Technically, also just like how British mentioned, one can definitely look at some of the key levels there. 1310 currently. 5 minutes to go before the markets, get done with. Let's ask Rajesh for the new series. Where exactly would you be keeping your focus on? Between first, let's discuss Nifty or the Nifty Bank. Do you continue to see better trades in Nifty Bank over Nifty in the new series, March series as well, Rajesh?
Maybe there's a high probability that Bank Nifty may be one of the outperformer in the March series because
Okay.
Bank Nifty has never made the lower low what Nifty did. So conviction on the Bank Nifty is little bit high, and these private banks are showing strength. Like what I said, like IndusInd Bank, Axis, even to some extent ICICI Bank is HDFC Bank. Also, this entire basket, private bank basket, is showing strength. So I believe once we see a trigger above 49,000 level, there will be a short positions will be there, which will get trapped. And then once we see those levels getting taken off, then most probably it's too early to say how much it will see a bounce. But definitely 50,000, close to 50,000 is what I'm looking for the Bank Nifty. And same thing for the Nifty 22,800 is a very precise trigger. So if we see a market closing about 22,800, maybe that day, next day, whenever that trigger comes, I think the short covering will also follow in the bank, on the Nifty as well. So definitely for the first part of the week, I'm quite positive and I'm convinced that we'll have a good week. Like coming Monday to Friday, it should be a good week. Let's see how that week closes and then we may take the further view.
Okay, 327, and then both the major benchmark indices have also slipped into the red. So we are looking at another day of close in the negative zone today on the expiry session as well, be it the benchmarks Nifty and the Sensex, or only outlier being the Nifty Bank that's pulled up in an otherwise weak market, but even the broader markets are sharply lower. When we talk about Brijesh, the new series, any two stocks that you believe you could suggest to our viewers that one can keep an eye out on for March series?
Okay. So if I look from the, if I understand from the long built up,
Yeah.
so if I need to say something, then 1 second, let me.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What?
Yeah. So data, purely from the data point of view, the stocks like Manappuram, Voltas, to some extent Reliance, AB Capital, these are the stocks which are seeing a long built up for the March series. So we can keep a watch on. Out of this, Voltas, irrespective of the derivatives data, technically also I am convinced. Manappuram also I spoke about, like at 210 level,
Yes.
there is a possibility of another 20-25 points kind of a rally. So AB Capital also to some extent it is looking positive. Indigo is something which I missed out. I think Indigo should also kept on a watch list. During the entire month, Indigo was seeing a good amount of bounce. So Indigo will also see some good positive momentum.
Fair point. Okay, British. Then thank you so much for being with us on the session today, explaining to us, where exactly are opportunities to be found in this market and how do we really look forward to large caps versus the mid and the small caps, the opportunities within stock specific news for the next series too. I always appreciate your time with us. So thank you so much for being with us on the day today. 1 minute to go. Let's start winding up the market for the day. Well, the Nifty is marginally in the lower end. 22,532 is what we're looking at as far as the Nifty is concerned. We did go to a high of 22,613, but we've cooled off from those levels as well as far as the Nifty is concerned. Top movers, banking and financial names. So Shriram Finance, Bajaj Finserv, IndusInd Bank, HDFC Bank, all upwards of 1 to 4% each is what we are looking at in terms of the top movers on the Nifty. On the lower end, Ultratech Cement, 5.5% lower on that news of entering the cables and the wires division. You're also looking at Grasim then pulled down lower 2.2%. M&M, Trent and Hero MotoCorp were the other top losers in trade as far as the Nifty moves are concerned. Now, when we look at the other sectors, remember the mid and the small caps have been those which have seen sharper pain today. So mid caps are ending over 1% lower, small caps down by 1.5% as well. So the broader markets definitely in more pain. Among sectors, it was the autos that dragged 1.4% lower. Media stocks 3.5% lower, 0.5% of a decline for IT, FMCG down by 0.8%, PSU down, banks down by 0.9%. So that was the standout factor as far as the overall backing financial support to the markets is taken. PSU banks withdrew from that move. Pharma stocks were lower in trade, realty down by 1.8%, so sharp fall over there as well, like we discussed. And apart from that, healthcare, consumer durables also lower in trade. So what we'll actually figure out where the positives were seen. So the Nifty Bank on the back of private banks and financials. Then you also had moves on the positive side on the metal pack as well today, and slight gains on the private banks, 0.3% higher, like we discussed. But rest of the pockets were definitely at the lower end in trade today. So there, we have entered the 7th day of losses for the Indian stock markets. The benchmarks ending the day lower, 22,509, although 22,500 is protected on the downside, but towards the end, we did lose all that momentum yet again. Last day to go for February tomorrow, let's see, and the first day of the March series, let's see how that one opens up. But just like how Bridget said, that probably there could be an outperformance coming in from Nifty Bank vis-a-vis the benchmark indices and the major ones in the March series. So we'll wrap it up at that, but do stay tuned on to Business Today Television as business news will continue to get covered beyond the stock market hours as well. And we will be back with market coverage tomorrow morning. So stay tuned with us.
IIT Madras has been the pole bearers when it comes to science and technology for India entirely, and here